Hello, it's Nikki, and welcome to this part of the series. If you've just stumbled across this one, you may want to go back and listen to the other ones, just so you have a bit of context, you know where I'm coming from and why I'm documenting this. So, February 2021 was the end of my year-long container for coaching, and that's me being coached personally. And I had to complete a form at the end of it. And one of the questions was this, and I've just got the form in front of me, so I'm reading back what I wrote. The question is, looking back to day one of the program, what differences can you notice in yourself today compared to then? And I wrote, I moved into possibility again. I have realised I am much further on than I thought I was, and I have trust in myself again. And that is a really interesting response looking back sort of 6 months ago, because there's nothing about the offering, there's nothing about what was delivering in terms of the coaching. It was about coming back to myself and trusting that mission and understanding what I had to offer in the world. And so I ask you, what is that for you? And this may be a time of regrouping, or you've maybe pivoted, or maybe you're just exhausted and you've been trying lots of different things. And now you're at that point of going, actually, what is next? What does this next version of my business look like? And so I would say, do you trust yourself? Do you have that trust in yourself? What is your possibility ceiling like? Are you in a headspace at the moment where you just really think that it is possible for you and life is good and what's next and what's round the corner? Or are you feeling stuck? Are you feeling like one of those little robots going round and round and round, or bumping into things because you just don't know what to do next? I would then ask yourself, what do you need to do in order to start that flow again? Where do you need to make moves? Because I guess I learnt this the hard way as well. I sort of almost thought that they would just come to me and it would just be a lovely moment and I'd kind of be picked from the sky and I would know then that it was my turn. But I've learned over time that that just doesn't happen. The decision has to come from me, always. And sometimes that decision comes in a weird and wonderful way when I'm least expecting it. But I go with it and I take that plunge. Moving in to March 2021, my goodness, this was a moment of almost holding the stare. Because throughout January and February and a lot of March, we had been homeschooling. And I know so many people were in the same boat. And gosh, I'm not saying that I was special or it's harder for us than anybody else. But I did find it challenging, not the homeschooling in itself, but trying to move all of the components of our day within a 12-hour cycle of everybody being awake, I guess. And I described it to somebody at the time saying, I feel like we've got all the time in the world, as in, gosh, we've got to entertain these children for all these hours, but then we have no time to do anything. And I was really straddling those two positions at that time. And what that March taught me was the importance of being present and the importance of trying to compartmentalize my time and my energy and my headspace and focus. So when I was homeschooling my son, or when my partner was, it was that moment of saying, right, this is what we're going to be doing for the next half an hour. And we had no phones, no distractions, no other stuff. And that was really interesting for me, because that was the beginning of time blocking, of not having the luxury of a whole day to kind of find my flow and do what I needed to do at the time. This was the moment of saying, I need half an hour, and I needed that half an hour to count. And the big lesson from that time was about prioritizing and really considering what I needed to do in order to move the needle of my business. What was a priority right now? And not just right now in this moment, but right now within the space of the month. Like, was I making the money that I needed to make, etc.? And being present and knowing why you are doing what you are doing is really important, because otherwise you can just end up being busy and writing another to-do list. And so I figured out all the extra sort of bits and bobs that I wanted to do behind the scenes of my website. There wasn't, I guess, the capacity at that time. In April, I welcomed some really, really lovely clients, and I did, every month, of course. But it was a real sense for me, and I think I always get this burst of energy as well. I'm very seasonal in that way, that I love that moment of it feeling spring and the nights are starting to pull out, and I tend to get another burst of energy in that time in terms of my business. And it was really interesting doing lots more discovery calls and opening myself up again because Oscar was back at school. And I've written here, I was really trusting to lean into what I was and what I wasn't, and what I am and what I'm not. And to keep doing the work, and I've written some other stuff as well, vibe attracts your tribe, and there are a lot of people who do something similar. And there absolutely are. I heard this on Instagram the other day. A woman, and I won't say what the business is, but this woman has a business which, to me, looking from the outside, is a fantastic business for this climate, for the culture, for the conversation, and it's very apt what she is selling at the moment. And because this is a physical location, she was saying that it's been really difficult over lockdown, and of course, I understand that. Then she went on to say how cross she was that there were other people nearby doing what she did. And she was saying, like, this wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. I was the first person to do it, and now it feels like everybody's copying my idea. But what she didn't say in that moment was she didn't recognize that the consumers, her customers, were also shopping in a different way, and many more were becoming customers of that type. So before, when she started 10 years ago, her offering was probably very niche and people wouldn't necessarily consider that to be a purchase. Now, in this day and age, it's almost becoming second nature. So do you remember when we all used to take loads and loads of plastic bags from supermarkets? I mean, it just seems wild that that's what used to happen. Like, we'd literally just keep pulling them off the thing and, have them like that. And now it really irritates me if I have to spend 5p or 10p on a bag. I've always got those big tote bags with me, and I've got a massive sort of one from our favourites as well, from our local fruit and veg shop. And it's really dawned on me that you have to have an abundant mindset. Yes, of course, there will be competition. Yes, there will be other people who are doing what you are doing, but they are not doing it in the same way. And some people will really love what I do and really understand my process and my flavor. And some people will be like, I want the same result, but Nikki Raby's just not for me. And again, that's absolutely fine. But in doing so, in marketing, in showing up, therefore, it's always just such a good reminder that you have to be you. There's no point diluting yourself and saying, well, I'm a bit of this, or I'm not really sure what I am. Instead, you can get to a stage where you can really show up and say, look, I'm going to be committed to this version. Because once you are committed and you show up in that full version of yourself, it's going to attract your tribe. It's almost like that moment if you go on a date and you become one of those people who just agrees with what the other person says, and they're like, do you like wine? Oh yeah, I love wine. We like this now. And you feel like you're diluting and you're about 8 or 9 different versions of yourself. So that was a really strong lesson, because when I was doing those discovery calls and new people were coming into my world, they were absolutely ideal clients and brilliant to work with. So this is the end of this part, and we've got one final part together, which is coming very soon. But if you haven't booked your tickets for Jam and Plan Live, it's August the 31st. If you are watching this later down the line, do email me, because there is another version, sort of a private version that I've recorded separately. So you can do the digital evergreen version. But if you are looking for a bit of purpose and focus and that sense of regrouping before you get back to school, saying school in loose terms, in September, then this is going to be a fantastic match for you. It's a whole day experience plus a week of email support from me, voice note, etc. So you can have that accountability that maybe you've been craving. So do check out the link down below. Do book your tickets, limited spots, because it's just me and I want to make sure that I give equally to everybody. So yeah, hopefully I will see you on August the 31st. Anyway, for now, I will say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please rate, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you in the final part. Lots of love.